Hello everybody and welcome back to Purple Pain. And I would like to follow up on my lander troubles I had in the previous episode. One of you guys, I'm not trying to pronounce your name, good sir, gave me the hint that maybe the drill heat was measured from the hitbox of the extended drill, and indeed it was. So if I would move the heat shield a bit further, then everything would be fine. Well, too late for that. But now back to the mission at hand. Since my return vehicle that is now landed on Eve is missing a few drills, I needed to send some kind of emergency backup, and in order to do that I burn a lot of fuel. Usually with the correct transfer window, journey to Eve takes about, well, something around 2000 meters per second of delta V. And, well, this will take a lot more, but first let's see if we can land this booster on the surface of Kerbin, and it is looking quite good. Unfortunately, we have a bit of an inclination here and no landing gear, so... yeah, I really need to work on that reusability thing. Okay, back to space. As I mentioned before, the efficiency of this mission is horrible. In total this will take, well, more or less around 5000 meters per second of delta V. A lot to get away from Kerbin and even more to circularize, or well, capture around Eve. And you can see me here already planning my encounter with that purple pain of a planet. So the gist of it is my RV, my return vehicle, needs drills, and well, this is the thing to deliver it to them. One of you guys in the comments already had the right idea. You guessed I should put a rover on the planet and drive some drills to the RV and then dock it with a claw. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. Actually, I already did this and recorded it way before I published my previous video. But yeah, time is relative. Now, the interesting thing is trying to land in a correct place where I can, well, not drown my rover in the Explodium Sea, but, well, be able to get back to my RV. So here we are already in the atmosphere and I'm ditching the fairing. Why? Because the fairing itself was heating up a lot. And I thought if I ditched the fairing, then the fairing would not explode from heat. Speaking of explosions, we just lost the heat shield and the scaffolding, but that was land, so nothing of the main components is damaged so far. And curiously, due to environmental visual enhancements, the mod that provides the clouds, it is now darker at daytime than at nighttime, so you can have quite a better look at this thing at night than at day. Oh well. Okay, now that we have landed safely and everything is fine, no wheel has popped, it's time to ditch that descent stage. And there we go, this is the RV Savior, and it has, well, a claw, a few batteries, a few wheels, and of course, 2 drills. Yeah, this took a lot of time, which I'm going to spare you, because you don't need me, you don't need to watch me drive around for 2 or 3 hours across a dark planet. Okay now, and once I did that and I had to stop a few times to catch some sun rays to recharge the batteries, I finally arrived at my RV that is still waiting patiently in the highlands of Eve. Okay, now that we got the claw out, it's time to find a suitable attachment point, and I chose the girder where one of the solar panels is. And yeah, it turned out it was a bit more tricky than I expected. But in the end I finally got a dock, nothing exploded, and I could put those drills in the ground and started to siphon that juicy ore into some fuel. And the fuel, of course, in the tanks of the RV. Because, as I mentioned in the previous episode, we really need to get our people back from the surface once we gather all the science. Back in orbit we have the Asinus transfer stage, and it is heading back to Kerbin. So we have now our real transfer window where we don't need that much delta V. And yeah, so the plan is get this back to Kerbin, refuel it, and then of course with the next transfer window, which is in a few years, or you can see in the top left corner. What could Naginata mean? In the top left corner you just saw my Kerbal alarm clock display, and there is another mission there, the Naginata, which you will see in another series. Yeah, I'm actually doing 2 missions at once. And this has a few, let's say, challenges, but nothing too bad. Okay, we're already back at Kerbin and safely circularized, so it's time to refuel this beast with quite the other beast. This thing here is the refueler, and the top stage, which actually carries the fuel, weighs 775 tons. So yeah, it took quite a while to get this launcher right, to get it safely into orbit, but in the end I managed fine to do that. And also one of the payoffs was one of the more beautiful stage separations in the last few weeks that I ever did. This was really nice, and if that stages would not have collided, then it would have made for a perfect, well, Korolev, not really cross. Is a 6-pronged thing still a cross? A Korolev star, maybe? Okay, so this is the tanker itself, and well, now it's time to get our rendezvous. So, since the Asinus is in a really weird plane, I have to do some plane, well, not really weird, it's a bit inclined. And well, I got a good encounter with only 200 meters separating us from our target. There we go. And of course the RCS consists of Werner engines, because a ship of that size really has to be moved with big machinery. Okay, let's try not to hit each other. For some reason, almost always in this series I always get nighttime rendezvous and docks. I don't know why, it just happens. Okay, and now we are already, well, you could say inside the Asinus, but yeah, we're going to dock this tanker real quick, and then we're going to make a fuel transfer, which will not be quick, as you will see in a few seconds. So there we go, docking with that thing, and yeah, my way of building things has the disadvantage of a lot of parts with fuel, and all of those parts need to be refilled. But yeah, I did manage to do that after quite some time. Thankfully, due to one of the newer UI additions in Kerbal Space Program 1.2, you can now pin menus somewhere. Or was it already in 1.1? I can't remember! I think it was in 1.1. Okay, time to get that tanker away from the Asinus and back to Kerbin. Yeah, I'm trying to land this thing as well, since now it's basically empty and it has still tons of delta V left. So maybe I could even get, well, a landing close to the Kerbal Space Center. But, well, the re-entry was a bit too ambitious, to be honest, and I fired the rockets too late, and yeah, you can probably guess how this will end. As most of my attempts to land something reusable. Okay, this tanker is doomed! Boom! But at least we got a few tanks that we can salvage, so, well, it's not a total loss, only 98%. So, thanks for watching, goodbye!